Hello, it is the 8th of July 2025, and welcome back to the 360 people that's in my little group, the Common Sense Party, and indeed others, viewers as well, that might tune in for whatever reason or whatever. Today, I want to draw an analogy between modern day Ireland and ancient Troy. I've recently once again watched this movie, Troy. Fantastic movie, well worth a watch. Tells the story of the destruction of Troy through conquest, but more importantly through deceit. Troy, of course, was a city-state in Asia Minor, modern-day Turkey, or Turkiya, as it's now pronounced, or whatever. And it was impenetrable. It could not be conquered because it had such stout and sturdy walls, and it had existed for hundreds of years, and they were quite confident in their abilities to repel any attack or siege. Now, some of these people decided to go over to Athens, Greece, and make peace and talk nice and whatnot. One of those people were, of course, the son of Prim, who was the king of Troy. That fellow's name was Paris. Many of these characters in that story will have modern equivalents in present day Ireland. For example, Prim, who was the king of Troy, he was represented in the movie anyway by Peter O'Toole. He was represented by an old, feeble fellow, maybe a few decades beyond his prime. Now, the Trojan king Prim actually might have had a prime. The present-day Irish equivalent of him, he never had a prime at all. That's Michael D. Higgins, because it's hard to imagine him being a king of anything except king of comedy or whatever. Anyway, that is Prime. His son Paris, he was one of the people that went over there to Athens, and he decided to take back with him the wife of the king of Athens, which of course was a disastrous move. Now, that foolish person is represented by the people of Ireland, who seem to have a necessity or a love or a want to be very nice to people from other countries or whatever. For no reason. It's just a feeling in their character. They seem to be enthralled with everything foreign. And that represents Paris. Now, also we have other heroes in the story like Hector and Achilles and whatever. Now, the attack on Troy failed. It could not be breached. But unfortunately for Troy, there was a cunning, deceitful, skillful Greek called Odysseus. Now, he will come up with a plan to destroy Troy. And his plan, of course, was to introduce a Trojan horse and have the foolish Trojans, as he knew they would, because he sensed their vulnerabilities. He knows that the Trojans are going to invite and bring in and drag in the Trojan horse inside their walls, which will lead to their destruction. Now, you may ask yourself, who could this modern equivalent to Odysseus be? Well, perhaps he was an Irish TD some decades ago. Perhaps he wasn't a staunch Catholic, if you know what I mean. He could have been something else. And he set the ball rolling to get those people from all over the world into Ireland. And that was the Trojan horse right there. Now you might ask yourself, well, did anybody foresee this? Well, sure enough, some people did foresee it. In ancient Troy, we have had a lady called Cassandra. She saw it very well. She had been given the gift of prophecy and being able to see the future by the god Apollo. And of course, when she rebuffed his advances or whatever, he decides to give her a little slap on the wrist, and the slap on the wrist was in the form of that from that point on, none of her projections would be believed, even though they were 100% obvious to her, and indeed anybody with a bit of common sense would have been able to foresee it as well. Anyway, she spoke out against this Trojan horse. You might ask yourself, who is the modern equivalent of that? Well, it would be anybody that would have spoken out and would be then castigated as being far right or racist or a nut job or a fruitcake or whatever. Some come to mind straight away, such as John Waters, for example. John Waters now is probably a fellow in the 1 percentile of an intellect in Ireland. Yet those fools in the bottom 40% saying that he's an idiot or whatever. That's one fellow. Maybe Gemma O'Doherty will be another one. She is speaking out, and she seems to be suffering perhaps under the stress of onslaughts or whatever. We would say no more about that. But she certainly was speaking out, and very eloquently, and she too has been cast aside. Maybe Justin Barrett. Well, likewise, he was branded by a fellow in a speech up there in Dublin as being a racist and this, that, and the other. Well, maybe he is, maybe he's not. Who am I to say? But I do know that he has seen the future very accurately, in my opinion. Anyway, that's all I'll say about him. Perhaps that fellow up in Donegal, he too was put in the same boat as Mr. Barrett, and he was not allowed to speak any place, really. And he's an outcast because he's a racist, this, that, and the other. Anyway, all these characters play their part and have a corresponding character in the old story. Now, what is going to be happening very, very shortly, which is the crux of this video indeed. Donald Trump is going to meet for the third time in just the few months that he's been in office. I can't believe he's only been in office for approximately 5 months, almost 6 months now. It's crazy to think, it seems longer. But anyway, he's going to be meeting Benjamin Netanyahu. And Benjamin Netanyahu now is going to have Donald Trump sign a fantastic, in their view, peace treaty. It's going to relocate all the Palestinians from where they were in the Gaza and perhaps elsewhere to other places, far and beyond where they began. This is going to be hailed as the best peace treaty since Trent or whatever, long time ago anyway. And what has led up to this is we'll have seen a constant barrage of propaganda over the last almost 2 years now since the conflict in Gaza began. You will have seen on Facebook a lot of pictures that are very disturbing, maybe perhaps of children being pulled out of rubble and whatnot. It's important to realize that practically all of those pictures are just staged photo shoots. Believe it or not. If the platform did not want those pictures on their platform, well, they would be removed, and the people who was putting them up would be removed as well. Why people can't understand that is a bit of a mystery to me. Now, if you go on to Telegram, for example, you will see the real pictures of children torn asunder by bombs, and they are horrendous. Okay, it's a massacre. Let's call a spade a spade. So the question is, why are you showing the somewhat sanitized pictures, but of course you will not ever get to see the real pictures? The simple reason for that is the sanitized pictures is meant to instill sympathy to the people suffering. The other pictures, the emotion that would be resulting from that would be not sympathy at all. It would be anger and hatred to whoever might be dropping the bombs. And that is something that is not wanted for this game plan whatsoever. The result of all this is that there's going to be a great influx of these people seeded, seeded, into Ireland. And they are going to bring a lot of problems with them because these people will be very, very hostile. So we go back to asking and mentioning, just to finish this off, about a group of people known as ISIS, ISIS. These were an army of 100,000 cutthroats that sprang up out of no place. It's like a miracle, really. They just sprang out of the desert. One would think that's impossible, but in the modern world, nothing is impossible, I guess. Anyway, they sprang up out of no place overnight. They also must have won the megabucks because they were driving in hundreds and hundreds of brand new Toyotas pickups. A lot of people in this country can't afford a second-hand Toyota pickup, not mind a brand new Toyota pickup. So there must be a car dealership there in the desert someplace. Again, it's all a mystery. Anyway, these people came and they devastated left, right, and centre, and overnight they disappeared again, like magic. The question is, where did these people go? There's only one common sense answer to that. They have now debunked and taken up position in Western Europe. And they have it even easier than they had it in the very hot, arid, sandy desert terrain that they were in. Now they're in an IPAS or five-star hotel getting fed beautiful meals, etc. They don't even need to have air conditioning. Things are very good. So that is the Trojan horse. Now that is a bitter pill to accept. But I think people in Western Europe had better just, again, to use that term that I've grown fond of from Facebook, give their heads a wobble. Because this is the reality. And this now is what Irish people will very soon have to contend with. Now, having said that, there was a report recently of somebody being arrested for setting and trying to detonate a few IEDs here, there, and every place. This person has been arrested, and supposedly he's from Northern Ireland, and supposedly, again, allegedly, he is a dissident Republican. Now, you've got to ask yourself, what would a dissident Republican have to gain from causing devastation like that? Well, I don't think there's much to be gained. So I would take that story with a grain of salt, and it is very likely out there as preparation for what might be coming. All right, well, thank you for watching, and that's just a few random thoughts on this issue of the Irish Trojan horse.